Welcome to Wrestling with Success, the best and only podcast for the wrestlers of tomorrow. Please welcome your host, Nigel? Oh, right. Your host and future champion, Neil McMillan.
Yeah.
Welcome to episode 28 of Wrestling with Success. It is now 2018, and as you can tell by my shitty voice, I'm a little groggy. I've been putting over man flu for the past week or so, and I feel like I've contracted AIDS or the plague, so this isn't going to be a long one by any stretch. I feel like a sack of shit. But 2017 is done and dusted. And I'm not going to sit here and reminisce on the last year, as 2017 is now signed, sealed and delivered. 2017 was the start of my wrestling training year, but I'm going to be talking about 2018, which I hope is the start of my wrestler year. This episode, the first of 2018, I wanted to share my goals for this year to maybe inspire you guys and girls to make your own goals or to join me on mine. But I just wanted to get them out there. So we're kicking things straight off with number 1. Improve my wrestling stats. What the fuck does that mean? I know exactly what that means, and I'm going to tell you. Well, what I've found, that when you're going to all these different promotions, you tend to you learn a new skill. You gain more of an insight, even if it be a different hold, a different move, a different counter for certain moves, or you might meet somebody there that you've now made a contact. You've now improved your network as a wrestler, which I don't think is a bad thing, but I see it as like in a weird way, like collecting Pokemon. I was never a big Pokemon fan, but ranking up in a game or something like that. You can pick up a good skill set by going to the same training school every week and wrestling for the same promotion. Don't get me wrong, but I see so much more benefit of going out and learn all these different snippets and skills from all this different variety of wrestling schools. And we're so lucky because there's fucking loads of wrestling schools out there. So that's what I mean by improving your wrestling stats, is every time I go to these different schools, I learn more. So imagine I have like a power bar, I'm trying to think what the fuck. What's the card game that you used to play? Trumps? Is it Trumps or something? Where like you have one card and it has certain power, has certain defense, has certain speed and all shit like that. Every time I go to a school, those kind of progress bars for whatever one kind of move up a little bit. So that's what I mean by improving my wrestling stats. So there's a list of certain schools that I intend to go to, and I'll list them for you now. First of all is the Spotlight Training School based in Swanley. It's quite local for me. It's quite a good one. Heard a lot of good things. I've seen a lot of their talent, performing for other promotions on other shows, and also I've seen a lot of their stuff online. I keep my eye on a lot of stuff on social media, and I see a lot of their talent coming from there. So I'm excited about that one. Go down to a few sessions for that. The other school is the Hustle Training School. The head trainer, that's Savvy Sid Scala. I mean, that sells it enough for me. I had a training session with him before at Dropkicks. He does great character work. He gets the whole character thing. I like his body of work. And he's in great condition physically as well, so I feel there's a lot I can learn from him and that school, so I'm looking forward to that. Those are Saturday sessions. EWW, Extreme World Wrestling, run by Stu Allen. Again, I've heard a lot of good things about this school from previous guests, Taylor Essex and Dean Jackson. From what I've heard, they have a very professional way of running things and set up like a brotherhood. So I think there's a lot I can kind of learn from that, as well as Stu Allen as well. He's got his own podcast as well, so I wouldn't mind banging heads with him on that. and I can recommend that podcast for you guys. That's the Stiff Right Hand podcast. It's a little bit more rough around the edges than mine, not as fluffy as mine, but he's got a lot of experience, and it's definitely worth a listen. So check that out if you're listening, you're wanting to hear more podcasts. Another is Knuckle Locks Wrestling School. They do an 8-week course. I don't know too much about the school. Used to be the Projo, which I believe is a training school for Progress, but I believe they cut ties somewhere along the line. They run things as more of a 8-week course, is what I can see, is what they offer. So I wouldn't mind committing to doing that at some point during this year. Taking 8 weeks at a different promotion is only going to benefit. Al Snow Wrestling Academy, there's another one. Again, I don't know too much about the school. I haven't heard too much about it, but I need to do a little bit more digging on that one. But just following Al Snow on Twitter, that dude, he shares a lot of good, solid knowledge on Twitter just alone. So I'm interested to see what he's got, what his setup is in London for that one. I mean, one of the main things I struggle with is the fact that training sessions, every wrestling training session seems to be on a Sunday, which is fine, which I can kind of understand as to why, but Sundays are literally the worst day for me. The worst day for me. I know it's not all about me, but wrestling promoters out there, if you want me to come to your training sessions, do it for a midweek, please. I'd happily come to a midweek. Sundays, I can do maybe one every month. If it's a show, no problem whatsoever. I can get the nod of approval from the wife. And I have no qualms telling everyone now that the only reason I don't do more wrestling training is because of my wife. She is the boss. She is scary. And if you have a wife out there and you haven't come to terms with that, then you're a fool. I'm making my wife sound really terrible. She's a great girl. She's a real great girl. As she holds a gun to my head. So I mean, that is one of the main things, is to improve my wrestling scats. That is New Year resolution number 1 of 2018. Number 2, I want to look the part. I want to continue the gym work. I've improved my body shape. I'm, without blowing my own trumpet, I'm in the best shape I've ever been. Even from when I was young. Physically, I'm in the best shape I've ever been. I want to continue to improve that, though. I want to build my body so it has a presence. So that I don't want to just look like some average Joe. I want to be able to actually look like I could actually hurt someone, to give me more of a presence. Don't need to go too deep onto this goal, but keep up the good work. And obviously my favourite saying, consistency. Keep up the consistency. And I've literally turned heel on my diet for the past 2 weeks over the Christmas and New Year period. So I need to get back on it, and I'll be doing that straight away. Goal number 3, of course, continue with the podcast. Continue getting more great guests, sharing more and more knowledge. I love the advice and the guidance shared, and I want to offer the platform for trainee wrestlers to share their knowledge with each other. And we all had that one love for wrestling, and all had the one goal of making wrestling great. So I want to continue getting all those great guests. I put a post out the other day on Facebook. You tell me, guys, if there's somebody you want to hear from on this podcast, I'm more than happy. I want to share as much knowledge as I can, because I gain out of it. I gain it from listening to them, and I want to share that knowledge with all of you. More than happy to do that. So if there's anybody you want to recommend, I try to push this as well. I have a link on my website. It's www.wrestlingsuccess/podcast-request, and that allows anybody who feels like they want to be on the show or want to sit down and share their story for the listeners. They can go there, and it just asks a few questions about them, how long they've been wrestling, so I can do a little bit of my research. So I can find out a little bit more about you and find out what you guys want to talk about, who may want to be on the show. So if you're listening to this and you want to be on this show, the best way is to go to that request, because that essentially is like my work tray, and I've got to get through that. So if you want to get on the show, that's the best way of doing it. What's number 4? Number 4 is the main one, and that is to act like a champion. What does that mean? Now, well, a year ago I would have said I want to be a champion. I think on my website somewhere I've put my list of goals from wrestling. I want to be a champion. That sounds like now, after like a year of training, I feel that's a little bit selfish, a little bit egotistical. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to be a champion, but for me, like as corny as it sounds, I don't feel like I need a belt to make me feel like a champion. I want to feel good about myself. I want to feel like a champion, as in I want to make opponents look good. I want to make titles and matches, competition, tournaments, rumbles, I want them to mean something. I want to showcase them as if they actually mean something. They all mean something, but I want to put that across to the audience member. Have self-respect for what I'm doing. A positive outlook. Don't get involved in all the drama. I've mentioned that loads of times. And at the end of the day, I want to promote the promotion, because that is how the end goal of making wrestling great again. That's how I want to do it, is by being a champion. Rather than saying I want to be the champion, I want to be a champion. I want to be a champion performer. I want to be a champion worker, if you know what I mean. I want to set the bar so I can inspire other people around me to try to encourage them to do things the right way, if that makes sense. So I want to be a champion, not be the champion. So, I mean, those are my wrestling goals for 2018. And like I said, I wanted to keep it short. I'm feeling real shitty, so I'm going to rest the head right now. I hope you all had a great 2018, a great New Year and Christmas break. And let's take 2018 by the balls. I mean, really grab those balls and let's make it our year. I want to make this year, 2018, a success. Thanks for listening. Thanks for taking time to listen to this episode. Thank you for following my journey. And guys and girls, I look forward to wrestling a match with you all soon in 2018. We're coming for you.
Yeah.